How's it going, friends? Sleepy here, and welcome to a new episode in my community question series, episode 28. And the question for today's video is, how do you guys organize and display your collections? I would love to hear your guys' answer to this question, as I know there are a lot of different setups, storage options. I know I've seen some really amazing setups in people's game rooms. You guys have two ways to answer this question. You guys can answer it as a comment, or you can film a video response if you would like. I just ask if you guys do film a video response, just let me know about it. That way I can check it out, because I'm not always alerted by YouTube when people upload videos, and I would hate to miss your video response. I can also leave a link as a comment on this video so other people can find it and we'll be able to check it out and enjoy it as well. If you do respond to this question, you will be entered into my contest that I'll be holding at the end of this community question series. And the main prize is going to be a console with some games, and that winner will get to choose it. There will also be some other winners as well, some other prizes to choose from as well, so I will have multiple winners. And so every video that you guys answer and respond to, you get entries into my contest. You can get up to 2 by doing a comment and a video response for each video. And so that's 28 videos now, counting this one, for you guys to get entries into that contest. And you can go back if you've missed a question from the past, because I've had this series going for a couple of years now. Go back and you can answer them, because I would love to watch them. I know some people are like, oh man, sorry I missed your video from like a year ago. You know, sorry for the late response. You know, I'm completely fine with it. I love interacting with you guys, so I don't mind getting a new response or reading some new comments on my videos. I love interacting with you guys, so feel free to go back and respond to any that you missed in the past. As long as the contest hasn't concluded, you can respond to them and still get an entry into that contest. So, how do I organize my game collection? Well, I have bookshelves that I like to keep my games on, different sizes, but I have some basic 5 bookshelves that I had bought from Walmart. I also got a couple from Target, but they're a little smaller, but they're basically like, let's say about 3 feet wide, and let me give an idea, I'd say probably about 6 feet tall, and I can house a lot of games on those shelves, where I can use at least like DVD style size game cases. You know, on the bottom shelf I can have 2 rows, then I have 1 row, then it goes to 2 rows again, then it goes to 1 row, and then it goes to 1 row, and I have to utilize all the space that I can, only because I have such a large collection. So not everybody's going to have a massive collection, so their storage and display options are going to be different than myself, but I like to do it that way. And then I also will stack games on top of each other. Sometimes I have to double stack games in front of each other, which I don't like having to do, but sometimes you have to do it with the space constraints that you have. Once I'm able to get a fully dedicated game room and build some custom shelves and stuff, then I'll have a much easier way to display my collection. As well as I also do have 2 of my collections alphabetized in alphabetical order. My original Xbox, I have every game in alphabetical order, from the numbers all the way to Z. And then I also have the platinum hits then separated, and they're also in alphabetical order. And then the best of platinum hits are also in alphabetical order and sorted. And then I also have my Nintendo Switch games. Now, other consoles like Xbox 360 and PS3, PS4, those are all kind of just thrown together and aren't in any kind of real order. But I have started recently kind of like putting genres together, like putting first-person shooters together in a section, and putting my fantasy and action RPGs in games, you know, like your Dragon Age games and your Baldur's Gate, Dark Alliance, and those kind of fantasy games, putting those kind of together, putting like horror games together. And I've been doing that with some of my collection, and then keeping series together, like, you know, Dynasty Warriors 6 and 7, 8, you know, keeping the games together, Gears of War with Gears of War, but there's no real, like, order to anything. And I know some people have been triggered in some of my videos. They have mentioned, they're like, oh, I like your collection, but God, it would drive me crazy. They're not in alphabetical order, and I can't, I wouldn't be able to find a damn game I want to play. And I can admit, it can be tough sometimes. You're looking, they're like, oh, where the hell did I put that fucking game at? Where the hell is it? I want to play that Sonic game. Where the hell is it? Oh, here it is. So I don't keep a lot of them in alphabetical order. Another one, though, I did just remember that I do are my Sega Genesis games, and they're the loose carts. I actually have them in cartridge and old cassette holders, and they are in alphabetical order, that because it is easier to find a game, and I will admit, you know, having them in alphabetical order is a lot easier. But I don't generally keep games in alphabetical order, as I have stuff coming and going and moving things in and out of the shelves, so I really don't keep them in alphabetical order, other than that specific original Xbox and my Nintendo Switch and Sega Genesis, because it took a long time. It took me several weeks to go through a little bit every day of putting the games in alphabetical order, and then you also have to decide your own way for alphabetizing stuff. You know, like, example is games with like the Simpsons game. You know, do you put it in the S because it's Simpsons, as some people do, and they put, you know, the thes at the end of the word? It's, you know, basically say like Simpsons but the part doesn't count. Or you like me, where I personally just put them in the T, so then I put The Simpsons, so it's in TH. But other people might put it in where it goes The Simpsons. And then sometimes, you know, there's even times where, like, the game is technically called The Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind, so I have it in the T's, but you could put it in under E for Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind, or I've seen people who put it as, they call it Morrowind, so they keep it in the M. So it really comes down to your own personal taste. There's no right or wrong answer when it comes to alphabetizing games. You know, it just comes down to your own personal preference. So I have my own way. You guys may have your own way for that as well. Now, I do know that I have some friends and stuff that are not into alphabetizing games, but they like to keep games into genres, though. You know, they have to, like I was talking about how I keep some of my games that way. You know, they want to keep all their racing games together. Here's my racing games. And then they might, you know, maybe alphabetize the racing games by console. Or they might even put PS2 and PS1 and Xbox games together. I know some people get triggered, too, by that. They're like, oh, you know, they can't touch. You can't have Nintendo and Sony and Microsoft all sharing the same shelf. Me, personally, I don't care. I love games, you know, I don't love one console more than another. I'm not brand loyal to anybody, you know, I'm a gamer at heart, so I love them all. But I do know some people don't like having their consoles, like, touching on the same shelf. Like, they gotta have a Sega shelf, and then they gotta have a Nintendo shelf, they gotta have a Sony shelf. You know, they don't want to mix together, so I can understand that might be how you are. But personally, you know, I really don't care. I've got on this shelf down here, I've got Xbox 360, I got some PSP, I got Wii U, Wii, Nintendo Switch, all together, mixed together. Multiple companies, all together. It doesn't bother me. Which I can show you guys a little bit here. And I do apologize if there's any lighting issue. And you also will see a lot of stuff I have on display as well. But you can see I have my double stack 360 games, and then in front I have some of the Wii U and PSP and Nintendo Switch games. And then again, I also have like a lot of my plushies out, which I do like to have on display, but I have to move them obviously to get games. But I'm okay with that. Like, there's my Xbox One games. Again, I have so many that I had to stack them like this. Same with up there. They're not in any kind of order. They're just kind of thrown up there, and I move them around as I take out different games. Same thing with, like, keeping my collector's editions. I do like having those on display, so I love that space I have on top of the bookshelves, as I can keep them all up there on top for display. So I do like having that. And then I also like having collectibles on display. And I do apologize for the lighting. At the time of filming this video, the sun is not really shining into the room, so it doesn't give me much light. But you can see I have like all my amiibos on display. And you guys do these in my new videos now, as I have a new angle. You're seeing my little mini arcades there, some Skylanders, and some other little collectible pieces. So I like to have collectibles around as well, sharing and showing my passion for the games that are in my collection. But for my main thing is I use these big Walmart shelves, because they used to only be like $25. With inflation recently, they have gone up to like 50 some dollars. And I know some people are into using like IKEA shelves and other shelving units. I have ones that aren't all the same. I have these reddish brown colored shelves mixed with black shelves, and I know that's another thing too. I know that people have been triggered by, or I know my buddy Dean had mentioned, like, underneath some of my shelves, they weren't painted black, and so he's like, you should take the time and paint them black, because he said it would drive him wild not having them uniform like that. Me personally, I just don't really care enough about the shelves, because these are just cheap Walmart shelves, and eventually someday I probably will replace them with my own custom ones. I've seen people, because you can build them, you know, custom shelves to fit a specific game. So like this one is shorter than this one, so you can make a smaller shelf and make it fit perfectly in there, and you can have it go all the way to the ceiling, and you know, have a much better storage solution that way. And you can do it for some cheap prices, as long as you're able to do it yourself kind of person, and you have the skills and stuff for it, and you can make pretty much anything you want when they're custom like that. So that's something I would love to do when I do eventually build my own dedicated game room that's not my living room, when my wife and I get our own home. That's something I'm looking forward to eventually building. But that's how I store a majority of my collection, is on the shelves where they're able to get to, and then I also have collectibles and stuff in front of them. I only keep a couple consoles alphabetized, otherwise the rest are kind of just on the shelf, and I have to find them. But I have been grouping them more lately by genres, and like racing games with racing games, and first-person shooters together, and my fantasy action RPGs that I love, kind of keeping those together so I can find them. And then also keeping series, you know, like Gears 1, 2, and 3 and Judgment together, so I can easily find them, you know, Dynasty Warriors, keeping them together as well. And eventually, though, when I do get a dedicated game room, I will probably put every single game in my collection in alphabetical order, so it'll be much easier to find the games, and then have them broke up, you know, obviously by console, so that Switch games are with Switch games, Xbox games are with Xbox games, PS1s with PS1 games, and then have various collectibles out and about. Because I know some people would not like having collectible stuff on their shelves. You know, they feel like they hinder being able to get the games. Me personally, I like having collectibles, so they're fun to me. So I don't mind having them on the shelf, because I can literally just take this thing off and move it, and then I can get to it, and then I can just put it back up there. And then, you know, sometimes you just got to go through like there for Mario, and I don't know if we can get him to sit in there. And then now he's back fine, and I can just move it, so it's not a big deal for me. But I know some people that upsets them too. They've seen my video and be like, "Man, you got all those plushies in the way of the games. How the hell do you get to them?" Like, I just moved the plush. I'd hate to have them move those things. They annoy me after a while, so they wouldn't want to put them there. But you know, I just use the space that I have and have to utilize it. Is it the most ideal setup? Of course not, but it works for me and makes me happy. And at the end of the day, that's all that matters. You know, set up the collection the way you do want to, you know, as long as it makes you happy. Because remember, this collection is for you to enjoy and have fun with. It's not for other people. It's not to brag to people and say you're better than them. You know, that's how my collection's never been. You know, it's been for me to have fun and for enjoyment. I like sharing it with you guys, but it's never been about bragging or saying that my setup is better than yours, or my way of organizing my collection is better than yours. You know, we all have our own opinions and thoughts on this. There's no right or wrong answers, but I would like to hear your guys' answer to this question. You know, how do you guys organize your collections? Do you guys put them in alphabetical order? Do you have your own custom game shelves? You know, I would love to see them. If you guys have a video of a room tour up, would love to check that out and see, because I've got some really great ideas. Seeing other people's game room tours, or how they organize. I've seen people with some amazing custom shelves, and they made videos of them, how they built it, and show you how cheap it is. And just really, I've seen real simple shelves with just real simple little small, like inch or inch and a half thick boards, and basically the games lean against the wall, and just the way they are, that they don't actually move, and they don't have to have as much of a shelf. And other people have like shelves like I do, where you buy them already made. And I know some people love like the IKEA shelves. I've even seen people repurpose an old dresser before, rip out all of the drawers, and then cut off where the little guiding tracks are for the drawers, and then they use that actually underneath their TV and put their consoles in there because it had perfectly symmetrical spaces where they could put their consoles. So I've said people repurpose other furniture like that before as well. So like I said, I like to organize my collection on the shelf, and pretty much they're kind of like grouped up by some genres and stuff, but they're also kind of mixed together, so it can be kind of a challenge, but that's just how I keep my stuff. Now, I also do store a portion of my collection in boxes and plastic tubs, only because I just don't have room for everything here. Eventually, I would like to get everything out of storage, as I hate having stuff in storage, but when you have a large collection, unfortunately, putting stuff in storage just ends up happening. If you have a huge collection, you just can't always display. It just depends on your own constraints and your own limitations with the space you have allocated to gaming, unless you want your entire house to become a game room, which I do not. You know, I don't want it taking over the entire house. And once my wife and I do get our own house, there's going to be a dedicated basement or room or something for the game collection, and then I don't want it to really spill out into other rooms, as I want to have just a dedicated gaming space, and then that's what that is, and the rest of the house is a home and not taken over with games. So I'm not going to have games like in the freaking bathroom and closets everywhere and taking over everything. That's what I don't want to have happen. You know, it doesn't need to be a gaming house, it's a gaming room. And so that is what I do have planned in the future. And so I just wanted to show you guys a little bit and talk about how I organize my collection. And just, I've read some of the comments I've read over the years on my video. Just people have got triggered about it and just like, oh man, your games aren't alphabetical order. You don't alphabetize them, man. It would drive me crazy. You gotta fix that. Or like Buddy D mentioned about seeing the brown on the shelf that's supposed to be black, or like some people mentioned like the black and brown shelves. Doesn't annoy me. It doesn't. It serves its purpose. It stores it for me. They're cheap shelves. You know, I paid like $25 for each one, and so I don't need to go crazy and spend more money on the shelves. You know, it is what it is. They do their purpose for me, and it's completely fine. But I know some people are real big into having everything uniform and have it look precise, which I can also know too that some people, like, again, I talked about this in a previous video about greatest hits and platinum hits and games, and some people don't like having those games that they kind of stick out like a sore thumb, and so sometimes they might organize them separate from their collection or not even buy them at all because they just throw off the whole flow of their collections, and I can understand that. I've also seen people too that have had like LED lights displaying in their shelves, and that's an idea I've had, but I have heard some good and bad things about that. I've heard that sometimes you gotta watch out which kind of LED lights you use, because it can actually make some of your games get faded. But I have seen that set up for some people where they can make it blue and red, and like they're like, oh, I can change the mood in my room. If I'm in a horror mood, maybe I want to put it red, or if I'm in like kind of a sad mood, maybe kind of blue, or maybe, you know, like I'm in a more upbeat mood, maybe I want to make it green, you know, I'm playing Xbox or something, you know, that'd be kind of neat, or orange or something, you know. I've seen that where you can really change the way the game room looks by those LED lights and then various lights and stuff in your setup. So I'd like to know though, how do you guys organize your collections? Let me know. You guys can answer this as a comment, or you can film a video response and let me know about it. If you guys also have a game room tour video up or something, let me know about it. I'd love to check those out because it gives me great ideas, and I love seeing other people's setups and the creative ideas and solutions they come up with this. So let me know your guys' answer to the question, how do you organize your collections? I would love to know. You can either answer as a comment or a video response, or you can do both. If you do film a video response, just let me know about it so I can check it out, and then I will post a link to your video as a comment here on this video, and other people can check it out, and then you'll get entries into that contest that we'll be holding at the end of this series. I want to thank you guys for watching. Take care. You guys have an amazing day, and Sleepy will see ya next time.